Hello, ladies. Happy New Year. Wow.
Happy New Year.
I think we're okay till for another week or so to say Happy New Year, right?
Sure.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Before it gets old. All right. I was just doing my garlic. So, Helene, I made you co-host so you can let other people in. Welcome everybody back. And I just was crushing up my garlic. I put it through, I got a lot of garlic here, but I put it through I've got garlic press. You can cut it up fine. The thing about with the leek soup is it's forgiving because at the end you're going to kind of either mash it or blend it or puree it so that it's nice and smooth. It can be a little bit chunky, but you don't want it too chunky. So here is our garlic all ready to go. And I did that early. Oh, wow, it's not as early as I thought. Life goes fast. But I did that first because I want to give the garlic an opportunity to rest before we start using it in our soup. So I want to welcome everyone to our first in the kitchen of 2026. I'm just going to move things back so you can see what I'm doing. Let's move it back. Which way? This way? A little bit. And we are doing potato leek soup, which is a really nourishing and comforting food. You know, potatoes tend to be a real comfort food. I've got my potatoes here, and they're nourishing and they're almost a complete, well, they can be a complete food all on their own. They get a bad rap. And I talk about that all the time because I love potatoes. So any kind of potatoes you eat, if somebody tells you, oh, they're just starch, no, they are nutrient dense. So what we're going to do, this is the super simple version of potato leek soup. I'm doing literally in my house. We love in the winter to have soup as part of our lunch, and I'll make a big pot and I'll come back and I'm like, what happened to the soup? So I always make a big pot. You can and the recipe is based on this like size, but what you can do if you want is you can half the recipe. Super simple. We're gonna be no fussiness here. I have vegetable broth, and in Canada, actually, I like the PC organic vegetable broth, mostly because it's a reasonable price compared to some of the other organics that cost a lot of money. And I'm going to take 3 of these. So this is a liter or a quart if you're in the US. And I'm just basically going to dump 3 of these into my pot. I'm going to put the pot on the stove to start heating up our liquid here so we can get it to a simmer. And then we're going to put everything in except for our coconut milk, which is going to make it creamy, and let it simmer on the stove. Make our house smell so nice as it's simmering away. And then we're going to finish it off. All right. And I'm doing all this. All I did is I washed my leeks and my potatoes. That's all I did. And I just, like I said, I cut up my garlic. I'm going to put this over here. I have my recycle bin right there. So I'm going to put this on the stove on high to get it up to start heating up to boiling. My next thing, I'm going to add in my leeks. So I've got 3 leeks here, and where I live, you can buy them. Like they seem to like to sell them in packet in 3 at the grocery store. And I had never used leeks before, and started using them in this soup. And I've made some other casseroles since. So they're really nice. They're in the family with the garlic and onions, which is very beautiful nutrients. They're antimicrobial, they're anti-cancer. So nice. All of these nutritious foods from this group of like the onions and garlic. So I'm just going to cut it up. So let me tell you first, leeks are grown in the sand, And they will, when you get them in the store, they can have, in the layers, they can have sand. So there's two ways you can do this. I cut off the ends and then I slice it down the lengthways, pretty much almost right through, not quite, but almost quite through. And then I rinse it and I peel back the layers as I'm rinsing it so that I can get as much of the sand, all of the sand out to the end. And you don't use this top part where it's the really dark green. You use the light green and the white parts. The other way you can do it is you can slice it first into rounds, and then you can soak it and wash it that way. So really it's up to you how you want to do that. And I'm just going to take my knife and cut through. And this is good for my nervous system to do this nice cutting action. I leave my tip of my knife on the cutting board and I just like a nice rocking motion and cut it. You don't have to do anything fancy or make sure it's a certain width or anything. You're just going to chop it up, get rid of the end, and then I'm just going to put this into the pot. And then as the water heats up, you have to make sure that you're not splashing, but it's not heated yet. All right, one leek down. This is my second one. And usually I find when I'm washing them, the first couple of layers, usually the first layer when I cut through them, I will end up just discarding that first one. Because it's either dirty or it's...
I'll need a piece of paper, Vince.
There, one lady.
All right, one more. And these are very voluminous, like they're going to fill up the pot. As they cook, they're going to shrink down quite a bit. So when you first put them in, it looks like, ooh, there's a lot in the pot, but it does shrink down. All right. I have my spoon here to just put them in. Then I'm going to add in some onions. So I've got 3 kind of medium-sized onions. And you can, there's no exact science here, but I do about 3 onions. Now, the way I cut my onion, I leave the end with the root on it. I cut the other end off. Then what I do is cut it down the middle so that I can take off the outside skin. And voila, I've got my thing so it doesn't get all that root on there. So I just take and peel them. And that's the easy way to peel them. So I'm going to do that with the other 2 onions. And the onions, you got to be careful, because they're round, you got to be careful with your knife on them, obviously. You put that to the side. Do these 2 onions. And this is how I do all my onion, no matter how I'm cutting them. It just works for me. There's lots of different ways that you can cut onion. I think the professional chef, the chef way is to then cut them this way and leave the end on and then cut them into dice, because we're going to dice this, but we don't need a fine dice. We just need a coarse dice here, so it's much more forgiving, which is good for us. All right, one more. Let me get this done. And one more. Beautiful. So then all I need to do, just make sure I don't have any little bits of onion skin on. Nobody wants that in their soup. All right. And so all I'm going to do is to cut across the onion. Then I can take that little end off. And then I've got the little half moons here. And then I'm just going to do a few cuts. And you got to be careful you don't cut yourself. And then just put them into the pot. let's do. Used to like to keep them together. Got one. And again, it doesn't have to be any fine cut. I just, chop them up because they're going to be very soft and they're going to be blended into our soup at the end. You can leave a little bit of chunk, but I think for the most part you blend it up. And there's one piece in there. Put to the side. My dogs are outside, and we have our neighbors have a new dog that they don't like each other, so I think they are having a little discussion outside. I don't think you can hear it, can you? All right, one more onion to go. That's it. And again, just a real loose chop there on these onions. And we're done with the onions. Off to the side. I forgot to bring my bowl for my compost. All right. And I'm just going to stir them up. Our water is starting to heat up. I see some steam rising here from the water, or the broth. And got all my onions and leeks floating to the top. And I've got potatoes here. These are just russet potatoes. And I'm just going to chop them. Now you can, if you want to, you can leave the skins on. And then you get the benefits of the nutrients in the skin. I'm going to leave them on. A lot of times I will peel them off. It depends on what you're comfortable with. Because I know, like my kids, they're not crazy about potato skins. I'm fine with them, but my kids are like, eh. So I'm going to leave the skins on, but so my kids, maybe I get this pot of soup all to myself. I don't know. We'll see. But again, you're blending it up. So I'm just going to take about, because this is a double recipe, and I love potatoes. So the more potatoes you put in, the creamier it will be. You can always adjust it with liquid. So I'm going to put in a few potatoes here. And I'm just chopping them up. So that's it. These are pretty big ones. They're like 2 potatoes. So, and I'm just gonna fill it. Whoops. I think that's enough. That's gonna fill my pot. And I've got my garlic here that's been sitting for about 15 minutes. I'm going to add it in. And I've got about 8 cloves of garlic here. Again, you can adjust it if you're not a big garlic fan. But letting it sit, the enzymes allow the healing properties of the garlic to come out. And then I'm going to add some poultry seasoning, about a tablespoon of that. Let me get my spoon. And of course, just going to add in, like I said, about a tablespoon. Of poultry seasoning. I like using the poultry seasoning because it's all nicely powdered up for me to start with. You can add a little salt and pepper to that. I don't add too much salt, but I do add a little bit of salt. And I've got my salt here. Just going to shake a little bit in, like a teaspoon, half a teaspoon, whatever. And then a little bit of black pepper. And I am going to let that come to a boil. Then we're going to turn down the heat and simmer it. Now I like to, you can simmer it, I guess, till the potatoes are soft. I usually like to let it go a little bit longer to kind of develop the flavors a little bit more. I love setting my soup up in the morning like this time and going off and doing some stuff for 45 minutes. I put it on low, come back, check it a couple of times, stir it around, enjoy the beautiful aroma, and then come back to finish it off in about, I usually let it go about 45 minutes. I think, you could probably get away with 20 minutes letting it soften, but again, I like to let all the flavors blend in. So now I have a pot of soup that's been simmering on my stove for the last hour or so. I'm going to bring this closer so you can see a little bit here. I'm going to turn it to my other camera if it's working. Yes. All right. There is my soup that's been on. I just took it off. It's really thick. Ooh. Now, you see how thick it is. I love it that way. If that's too much for you, you can keep it thinner. Now, what I'm going to do, I have some Chaw's organic coconut milk. And this is a half recipe, so I'm going to do just around a half of the can. For the full recipe, I put in the whole can. I'm just going to take off the lid. I shook it up a little bit. I love the Chaw's. It's organic. I believe you can get it in both Canada and the US now. I'm going to go about half a can or so. Add that in. And at least in my Costco, you can buy it in a case. Now it's a little bit chunky here, but it'll blend up. And yeah, the case in Costco is a very good buy. It's 6 for like $12 or $13 at least, last time I remember. And it you can get 2 cans for that price in the grocery store, 2 to 3 cans. And then I have some lemon juice I'm going to add in. Now I'm adding in probably a couple of tablespoons. You can add in some and then add in to taste, depending. All right, now I can see my other one here. Let me see if I can move this over. The other one here now is just starting to boil. So I'm going to turn it down to simmer now. Let me get this the right way. Okay, I'm going to turn that one down to kind of a medium low so it can simmer, and let it simmer for a while. Like I said, about 45 minutes. I'm going to put the lid on and let it simmer. Let the lid go. All right, so now for this one, now you can put this finished version into a blender. Be careful that you don't burn yourself. You probably have to do it in stages. I have an immersion blender that I'm going to use. Again, be careful about the heat. I put it in here. Now, the other way that you can do this is just mash it with a potato masher. That'll have more chunky. So you can make it chunky, you can make it really smooth. It's up to you. We like a little bit of chunk, but not too much. Check this out. So you can see it's a very hearty, thick soup. I could do more, or I can leave it like this with a little bit of chunk, but not too much. Here, I'm going to leave it like this because we like a little bit of potatoes for ourselves to eat. Yum. Not all. And that's it. I'm going to get a bowl of soup for myself. You can see I got a nice chunky potato here. Just the way I like it. Yum. Little chunk. And again, what you can do at this point is just add in a little bit more broth if you would like. I happen to like it nice and thick, but you could add in some broth as well. So let me switch over.
It's good thick.
Sorry?
It's good thick. It looks good thick.
It is good thick.
I like my
I like
soups
it
thick.
this way.
I like it that way too.
Yum. All right. And I am just going to, I've got some green onion, I guess, or scallions that I've cut up. You can also here add a little bit more lemon if you would like. I'm just going to put a little bit of scallions in the middle here. And for decoration, I have some paprika or smoked paprika. Just going to add a little bit. Oh, it looks like my kids finished off the paprika. LOL. All right, I've got some. Just a little bit around the edge. That's like more decoration than anything else. And let me bring this back over to my overhead so you can see that. And voila, we have a beautiful
Voila.
Looks so good.
hearty soup for the winter for your lunch, or you can have it for dinner. You can take your choice, either one. If you're having a light meal in the evening, this would be beautiful to have your soup. But you can also have it with lunch. What I like to do is have my bowl of soup, maybe a little bit of leftovers from the day before. And I'm trying, so this is new for me, as I'm trying to make my lunch my biggest meal of the day and then a lighter dinner. And I have been a person who does not eat breakfast because that's something I started when I was like 15 or 16 years old. And so getting back into the habit of doing breakfast can be challenging for me. It's easy for me to forget, but I'm wanting to do a little more consistency with my meals, and that's good for the nervous system. It makes our body feel safe, and that's the first thing. Like if you're looking to make changes to your food and your nutrition, that's actually probably the first thing I recommend. Have breakfast and have consistent lunch and dinner. And I'm trying to make my lunch my bigger meal. Cheers! I can so taste the potato.
Send some our way.
I will, I wish. Yeah, and when everybody's finished the current AI stuff they're doing, maybe they'll start looking at how we can teleport food and smells across the internet. All right. Any questions?
No, it looks delicious. I'll have to make that this weekend.
Yeah, I love that. Okay,
Leeks
And I'll
are
have to eat it
expensive though
today.
here.
Sorry?
Leeks are expensive.
Yeah, I think it depends. And I'm not even
It depends.
sure. Leeks are something we see in all year round where we are. I don't know about other people.
They're expensive though, I
I
think,
think
now.
they're $4.50 for a pack of 3. It's what I paid, I think. So,
So like almost $5 for a pack of 3.
yeah. I don't know. I mean, life is expensive these days, so trying to buy things when they're in season, and then I know like everything prices have gone up everywhere. So I've never really thought about the price of leeks being expensive or not. They've always kind of been around the same. Now, when I go to Whole Foods, they're by the pound, but when I go to other stores, a pack of 3 is usually it's just a flat rate for all of them. So I always look for like a nice big one.
Yeah.
But I'm sure they do that. Like when I did these 2 pots of soup, the first pot, they were thinner ones. This one that I did today, here had a couple of thicker ones and one thinner one. I have on the list that we are going to do lentil soup for sure. We have done lentil soup before, but I will do lentil soup. That's another easy one to do, and it's so good. Oh my gosh. I love lentil soup. And that one can be a real meal for sure, like especially a light meal. Oh, so good. So we'll do that. And I had a request for hummus as well. So that's something we'll
Which one?
hummus to do homemade
Hummus?
hummus. Yep.
You mean hummus?
Yeah, for sure. It's
Hummus.
hummus. Okay.
Hummus.
All right.
Hummus.
Okay, thank you. I've always called it hummus.
Hummus.
Hummus. Okay. I'll take your
I
word
call
for
it hummus and hummus.
hummus. Whatever.
Hummus. It sounds like the bad guy that you the bad guy on porn. Oh my gosh. Yeah.
All right. Okay. On that note, I'm going to have my bowl of soup and wish you ladies all the best for an amazing weekend. Thank you for joining me today, and we'll be back next week. Yeah, and
Okay.
maybe we'll do the lentil soup next week. Kind of doing a
Sure.
couple of soups to keep us going over the winter with something nice and warm. All right, take care, ladies.
Thank you, Debbie. Yeah, have a great weekend, everyone.
All right,
Bye-bye.
bye.